Hi everyone, my name's Anne-Marie. Welcome to this card making project. In this project we're going to use one of my favourite collections from Griffin, and that's the Rose Designer paper collection. I absolutely love this collection, and we're going to use a little bit of paper manipulation, I suppose, not paper folding, but we're going to do some true paper crafting and change a few things to make a gorgeous card. Everything I do use, it will be on my blog. If you've got any comments or any questions, please feel free to ask me on my blog or on Facebook where I can reply, because I still can't reply to you on YouTube, and that's the way it's going to be, unfortunately. So I shall put everything on my blog if I forget to say what I've used while we're going through it and making it. That's the housekeeping done out the way, so now we can be creative. We're going to use a base card, which is a 6x6 inch card, and unfortunately my bugbear is this isn't a true 6x6 inch card. The envelope is, but the card isn't, so it's just a little bit short on our cardometer, but that gives you a perspective at home of what size card that I'm actually using. Now I'm going to use my bone folder to make sure I've got a nice sharp edge along the side of the card, because even though it's factory made, it's still only a little crease, and I want to make sure that's a good sharp score. Now, as always, we're going to do the inside of our card, because I know for some of you this is your favourite bit, and I won't say it is for me all the time, but for me it is sometimes my favourite bit too, because I kind of like to wow you a little bit with the insides, because I want to inspire you to think, I can do that. So I think today's is a very easy one, but it's a bit of a, oh, wow, I can do that. So we'll see. Now the first thing that I've done is, even though we've got a white base card, I've got an ivory layer for my card. I've been really lazy and I've put it through my Xyron machine, because I've just changed the cartridge to the wider size and I wanted to check it worked. There we go, being very honest. So I put this through because I thought, oh, it'll save me time, and it tries, you know, that first turn of the Xyron, you can see as it came off, that first turn of the Xyron to make sure that it was working nicely, which it is. So I've cut a layer to fit the inside of my card, and it's ivory cardstock. I've inked around the edges, and then I've used one of Anna's sentiment stamp and dies to make a scalloped circle, and I will show you the one I've used. It was that one from the die set, if you remember. It has the matching sentiment stamps to it as well. I left the die in the aperture after cutting it, and then I just inked very lightly around the edge. So we've got adhesive on the back, and we can pop this in to position through the centre of our card like so. Now the one thing I really do like doing the inlaid inserts, because I think obviously we need to keep the inside flat, but I think the inlay for them is just, it just looks so good. So for this one, what I've done, it just needs two things. Again, I've used the Anna Griffin sentiment and die set. I've cut out a scallop circle in the same scallop that we've used for the aperture. I've also stamped it with the frame pattern that you get in the set, and then using the smaller circle, I've taken an aperture out of that, and so again I've run it through the Xyron. See how it's run out? This was the narrower, and now I went on to the wider. Letting you into my secrets now. So we can pop our scallop circle into our aperture, and it fits perfectly, nice and smooth, nice and flat, and we've still got an aperture in the middle of that. And so for this, I've stamped the words "Just for You," again from the Sentiment and Die set, and then die cut it in a circle, and that was on ivory cardstock, not inked, because I thought we'll keep the contrast there of the ivory, and that sits in perfectly into the aperture that we've left. Now that is our insert finished, and I think it just, it's so simple and effective. Ideal for anybody that's maybe got a longer message. I know sometimes the inserts that I create, there's no room for messages. So this one you could write a little message in there, and yet it's going to match perfectly to the outside still. Just such a pretty insert. So now we can turn our attention to the outside. We're just going to make sure we've still got that nice sharp crease, and then we're going to add the first layer for our card, and that's going to be a layer of black cardstock that we've cut to fit, and I've got 3D, I haven't got 3D foam, I've got flat tape on the back of it. Oops, all fingers and thumbs today. And we can add that through the front of our card, trying to get it nice and straight, looking around the camera. There we go. So that's the first layer for our card. Now the second layer is from the Rose Designer collection from Anna. I've got tape on the back of it and my trusty V to tell me which is the top. So just write that on in pencil. If, like me, you want to know which way round something is. So I can position that through our card. And I'm going to just turn it that way because I've put the tape on the centre, and if I do it to the top, it will be facing the wrong way. So there we go. So that's our next layer, and you can see there's two pieces of double-sided adhesive through the centre. Now these are going to be for a die cut that we're going to position on the front of our card, and this is from the Fretwork 1 die. Now it's quite a long rectangle die, and you can see that I've cut the centre away from it to create two fretwork, ironwork, ornate, scallop, swirly, flourish die cuts. And I think these are so versatile because what you can do with the dies, you can do so much. So I'm just going to position these on the front of our card, and I'm letting them stick to the tape like that, because you won't see the tape when we're finished. So we'll just position the second one like so, press it down. So that was our fretwork die that we've just cut through the centre and trimmed it down so that we can use it on a square card rather than a rectangle. Now next what I've done is I've die cut and embossed 3 of this shape. Now I'm calling it this shape, it's like a bracket bubble shape. I know there's probably a correct name for it. It's this shape here from our Sentiment die and stamp set, and I've simply die cut it 3 times in Anna's metallic green card, and then I've embossed it using the Terrific Titles embossing folder. So I don't know if you remember, there was some word dies that Anna had, and you got a 3-section embossing folder with different elements in it. So I've used one of those, and then I've trimmed them in half so that I've simply got them and I can divide them up. So I'm going to pop them on my card over the top of our ornate fretwork like that, running kind of through the centre but just below the centre. and we're going to have 3 at either side. They've been through the Xyron machine, so I know they've got the adhesive on them. There we go. And then I've got 3 for the top as well. And we're going to do exactly the same at the top. And I'm going to try and make sure it's roughly the same space between them at the top and the bottom. There we go. And you'll notice I'm doing the 2 outside ones first and then the inside one. There we go. And the last one for the centre, like so. There we go. So we've got 3 either side, a blank centre. Next, what I've done is I've die cut the same shape again out of the Rose Designer paper, and on the back I've got 2 pieces of 3D foam at the top and the bottom and flat tape in the middle. And I've done this 3 times, and I'm just literally going to place those over the top of the embossed layer, and I'm going to press down in the middle because then the edge will stand up where I've put the 3D foam on it. And pop that one to that side like so. Press it down in the middle because it's the middle bit that's going to stick. And then the centre one, we do exactly the same. Press it down in the centre because the edges are raised. There we go. Press them down. So next, I've got a piece of black card and a piece of cardstock from the Rose Designer collection, and I'm simply going to make these into a little border strip, layering them onto each other like that. And then I've got double-sided tape on the back of it, and I'm simply going to position this through the centre of our layers like so. There we go. Next, the shape that we used for the inside from the sentiment and the die set, the scallop circle, I've cut out again the same paper from the background, and I've stamped it and then die cut it, and I've got 3D foam on the back of it, and I'm simply going to position it roughly about there, I would say. Oops, slipped a little bit. Pop it about there. And then I've got a sentiment, which I've done the same with as we did for the inside. I've stamped it using one of the smaller sentiment stamps, and then I've die cut it using the circle, and then I've inked it in the centre. It's on 3D foam, and I'm going to pop that through the centre of our scallop circle and press it down. And then I'm going to finish with a little red bow. Now, I can position the bow in so many different places on this card. I'm going to go for underneath because I think that works perfectly. You might prefer to put it at the top. The choice is yours. So, but I like mine at the bottom. And that is our card finished. Something a little bit different. We've got our gorgeous inside that matches perfectly to the outside because we've used the same sentiment stamp and die for our sentiment inside and out. So you can see how coordinated it is, and the colours as well. And then the outside, we've got our ornate die cut at the back, just giving that little extra touch, and that was in flock. I think I forgot to mention that. I used one of Anna's flock papers. We've got our embossing, and then we've got our gorgeous floral papers and our layers. We've got a little bit of height, and you can see because we only put the foam pads at the end and we use the flat centre, we've got a little bit of interest throughout the edges where there's some height, and then we've got a little bit more height with our sentiment. You wouldn't need extra bubble wrap or extra wrapping for this. It's not delicate as some layers could be. Stands up nicely, and it's just such a pretty card, and a great use of papers and dies in a little bit of a different way, I think. Paper crafting at its best. So I hope you agree. Please feel free to comment, and if you've enjoyed this, please feel free to share with your crafty friends. I would much appreciate it. If you've enjoyed any of the projects, I always forget to say this bit, please give me the thumbs up on YouTube. If you've got anything to say, Facebook and my blog, I can't reply on YouTube, and I do love hearing from you. So I'd just like to say thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you next time.